Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Nancy Stark, and with me here today is Deanna Booker. Dee is a financial expert with many, many years of personal finance education and experience, and she's also the spokesperson for local nonprofit Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware. Deanna, before we start, could you please tell us a little bit about what you guys do at CCCS?
Sure. We are offering all sorts of financial education and counseling. We do budget counseling and credit counseling and housing counseling and bankruptcy counseling. We have offices right here on the shore in Salisbury and in Dover, and we've been helping folks in this area since 1966, just doing whatever we can.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And you do a good job of it.
Thank you.
Well, here we are. I should say Happy New Year.
Yes, to you
it's
too.
2014. I can't believe it.
It's
gone so fast in 2013. For today, I thought what we might do is start off by talking a little bit about how we can all become more financially secure this year.
Okay.
And it's not an original idea. I think a lot of people have that feeling coming into the new year. And the reason I do is, you know how they do all of those polls on New Year's resolutions?
Yes.
Well, personal finance is almost always at the top of the list. It's one of the top items. Why do you think it's such a popular New Year's resolution?
Well, I think it's because our finances are so tied to our quality of life. You know, I think we're always thinking about it. What our financial situation is going to govern a lot, you know, from where we live down to what we're able to afford to do, you know, the things we spend our money on. So I really think it's really tied in. And also, I think because the economy has been so uncertain, you know,
it's been kind of a roller coaster.
Right, it really has for so long now. I think it's made more of us more cautious and but also more empowered, you know, to kind of find out and see what's out there and figure out what we have going on. And because we have so much access, you know, to so much information, I think it really motivates us to want to figure out our finances and figure out how to do better, honestly, about them.
That makes sense. Well, let's talk a little bit. I know the polls are in for this year as far as our New Year's resolutions. What kinds of financial changes do people want to make, you think?
The polls are definitely in, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I actually been reading some polls myself just so I could brush up for coming here.
That's good.
And the one I paid most attention to was Fidelity Investments. This is their 5th annual New Year's resolution study.
Oh, so they've been doing it for a while.
They've been doing it for a while. And 54% of the people this year who were polled said that they plan to kick off 2014 with some kind of financial, you know, personal financial management sort of resolution. 54% of people, like I said they plan to save more.
So 54% said they were going to do for something financially,
Exactly.
and 54% also said
they wanted to save more.
more.
That was their key. There were 24% of the people who said that their goal was to spend less.
Right.
And then 19, I believe, percent of people said that their goal, their resolution was going to be to pay off the debts that they owe. So the polls are really keying in on what's really ticking, you know, and clicking with people for this year, and what are the things that they really want to hone in on.
Those are all really worthy goals.
Right.
And I think we're going to take a few minutes and talk about each of them as far as looking at ways that we can achieve them, especially those of us who have those as our resolutions. But before we start, before we do saving, before we spend less, before we reduce our debt, is there something more financially that we need to do first?
I think there is, and we talk about it a lot when I'm here, Nancy. The thing to do first before any of that is to figure out where you stand financially.
That makes sense.
And I know it's always one of the first things I say, but it's true. It really is true. You really have to look at where you are right now. So what kind of income do you have coming in, you know, from what sources? What expenses? You know, how much do you have going out in expenses? And then how much are you left with, you know, at the end of the month? And where is that balance for you? Do you have some left over? Are you coming up negative? So it really is the time before we start talking about resolutions and how we're going to get to those goals to really figure out where you stand right now. If you've never had a budget before,
and there are those who haven't, I'm sure.
Right, there really are. And if you've never had a budget before, now really is the time. It really is. And at Consumer Credit, we can certainly help with being able to set that up or help you set that up. We have counselors that can talk to you and help you go through that process of getting that budget set up, because that really is key before you ever start talking about resolutions.
That's true. I also know you have an online tool people can use.
Absolutely. It's interactive, an online budget kind of tool, and folks can go to our website, www.cccs-inc.org, and really avail themselves of that tool, and it's excellent. It really is. There's all kinds of great information on the site as well.
You guys provide so many good
try.
services. Well, with that said, so we've assessed where we stand. We have our budget in place. Say I want to begin saving this year, and I've never done it before. I haven't really put in a concerted plan for myself on how to save. Where would I start?
Well, I think the best place to start would be with that concept of paying yourself first. You know, you really want to take the steps to make sure that you're contributing to you, you know, every month or whenever your savings time frame is. So you could do something like when you get paid, if your paycheck is directly deposited, you can have a certain amount taken from your checking account when your paycheck goes in and automatically put into your savings account.
That's a really good idea. You wouldn't even miss it.
You wouldn't even miss it, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Before you even touch it, you know, that money is automatically put into savings. And it's a great way to build up a little nest egg. And it doesn't have to be a lot. A lot of times I'm talking with folks about the fact that you can start small. You know, even small amounts, if you do it regularly, they add up. Exactly right. So I think that really is a great place to start, to get on that sort of path, so to speak, of being able to save.
Getting your cushion of cash.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Is there anything else that people should be doing when they, like from a long-term savings point of view?
Well, you want to, even though, you know, the economy is what it is and there are issues in the market and that kind of thing, a lot of employers still are offering 401ks and 403bs. And so if your employer is doing that, you want to take advantage. Even in this day and age, employers are still matching 401ks. Right. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage. For every dollar you contribute, if your employer is going to match it, that's just savings for you. And that's going to help you build up, and it's going to help you be in a better position when it comes time to retire. Because just like we said in the beginning, time goes so fast, you know, it's going to be that time before you know it. So you want to make those plans.
That makes full sense. And I would think another thing that in trying to find money for saving kind of ties into our second goal, that goal of spending less.
Exactly.
Because without having that extra money, you might not have enough to save.
Exactly.
But even if you're saving, if you want to spend less just to spend less so you have more money for other bills.
Right.
How do you go about doing that?
Well, you really do. The key is to really look at where your money's going now. You know, what are you spending on? I tell a lot of times clients, they come into the office and they want some suggestions about how can I do this. And I'm always saying, make a spending journal. You know, put one together, keep a little book. Every time you make a purchase, every time you spend something, write it down. Really look at where your money's going. Review all of those purchases. You know, did you buy something that you really needed to buy, or was that just an impulse purchase? You know, and think about how you can start cutting back, how you can start saving.
Yeah, those things that aren't essential.
Exactly right. Even what I was about to say was even little bits. You know, if you just save 50 cents a day,
Right.
50 cents in loose change, you know, that you might find in the couch cushions every day. 50 cents a day is $180 a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So we want to start thinking about ways and things like that. Maybe cutting back on the coffee, you know, not buying that coffee every day. That's going to save you. Little things like that we can do to jumpstart, you know, that process, to get us into the habit of spending less. And like you said, we're going to have more for the essentials and for the bills that we have to pay.
Right. That makes sense. It would seem like in almost any situation, if you look at items on your budget, even things that are essential like food, there are ways of making a savings.
Absolutely. You can certainly cut back even on those major items, food, transportation, you know, whatever it is, communications, excuse me, those things we can cut back on. So you want to make sure that you're comparison shopping when it's time to do the groceries, that you're using coupons, that you're menu planning, all of that sort of thing. All of those kinds of things really can contribute a lot to how we're going to be able to build up that nest egg like we were talking about before. Like I said, with communication, we've all got these big cell phone packages.
That's
and all
a big
that kind
expense
of
for most of us at this point. And entertainment packages like cable and satellite as well, if it's premium channels.
That's exactly right. Those things are very expensive. So now's the time to really start looking at them. Can we cut back on some of these channels? Do we need, 550 channels of whatever it is that we're probably not watching?
Do we need to pay $50 more a month for one channel even?
Exactly. So things like that, like I said, our cell phones, look at your plans. Really figure out, how can I cut back? Maybe I can go to a plan that doesn't charge extra for texting or data or the things that we're using. We really have to start evaluating, what we're spending on and how we're spending and why we're spending like we're spending, to really be able to make those adjustments.
Those are all good pieces of information. Well, so we've talked about how to save and how to spend less. Say I went hog wild at Christmas and I now have a whole bunch of new debt that I hadn't expected I would have, and now the bills are coming due. It's January. How can I go about taking care of that credit to repay it, get rid of it before next Christmas comes around?
Right, and then you'll owe for that. I think you just want to commit, just commit to making 2014 the year that you get your credit card debt and your credit card bills under control once and for all. That you really take a hold of it, that you really start working to get it paid down. And we really have to be monitoring, how we're paying, what we're paying, are we paying more than the minimums, that kind of thing. Maybe there's an opportunity, if you qualify, maybe there's an opportunity to transfer a balance. If you've got a balance on a high interest credit card, transfer it over to one with low interest or zero, introductory interest. Now the key is going to be not charging on that card
that's
anymore.
True. Otherwise you're going to have even more debt to pay.
You just made another bill. But, that kind of thing is going to be able to get us into a better position to be able to pay these bills down more quickly and more affordably. Now, don't fret if you don't qualify, if you aren't able to qualify for a card like that with an interest rate like that. Still, you want to stick to your guns. You want to make sure you're making payments on time. Like I said, make sure that you're making more than the minimum, even if it's just a bit more than the minimum, to work to get those balances paid down. You really want to commit to it this year.
I all the time on the new, on TV or radio, hear ads from groups that say they can give out, if you're in debt, they can get you to only pay a nickel on the dollar that you owe. Does that make sense?
It doesn't. Most of those companies that you're talking about are they're debt settlement companies, and they are for-profit organizations. So it means that they charge a large fee. They may charge a large fee for the services they're providing, and they spout off all of those, we can reduce your debt by 50% and all that kind of thing. Even though all of that sounds really tempting, a lot of the times it's not true. And a lot of those organizations are unscrupulous, and so they're really not able, to do the things that they say they're going to do. And so those debt settlement companies and arrangements with them can come with or they should come, I should say, with some caveats. Understand that if you use an organization like that and a debt is settled, it's going to show up on your credit report. It's going to be reported paid by settlement, which can have a negative impact. Also, there's the potential that you're going to face some tax implications and some tax penalties on the debt, on the amount of debt that's forgiven. So settlements can be kind of tricky.
Okay. What if I have enough debt and I've tried handling it on my own and it isn't working out?
Right.
Where can I go for outside help?
If you recognize that, about your situation, that you've contacted your creditors, you've tried to do what you can, but you just can't do it on your own, it probably is time to get outside help. And that's when viewers can call us. You can call Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware, because we can help. Our counselors can work with you to set up that budget, to figure out what the best repayment options for you are, to really kind of help you go through that process. If need be, we can set you up on a low-cost debt management program. Maybe that's going to be the thing, that a viewer might need to really, get themselves back on track and to be able to get those credit card debts paid off, again, more quickly, more affordably. The key is not to wait. If you know that you need help, if you think that you need help, you probably do. So the key is to get it very soon.
Well, that makes sense. How can viewers contact you in the case that they wanted to schedule an appointment?
Oh, sure. They can call our 1-800 number. It's 1-800-640-2227, or visit our website, www.cccs-inc.org. They can set up an appointment to talk with a counselor in an office right here in Salisbury, or they can do their appointment over the telephone.
Oh, that's really convenient. Well, before we leave this topic, I have one last question for you, and that is, when you make a resolution, how can you make sure you keep it? I read we were talking polls. Well, one of the polls that recently came out, they went back and revisited people who'd made New Year's resolutions